like a window, no window, look at the videos, say yourself that could have been you.
Because they're like, Sanya On-Air. And everybody on the East Coast calls me Don. I'm like, what is Don?
My mom thought I was on Long Island, but I was at Howard Homecoming. Turn it up.
Let's go. Welcome, everyone. You are now tuned into another amazing edition of Sanya On-Air. I'm your host, Sanya Hudson Payne, and this is going to be another great show for you. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this celebrity interview, do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to every Sanya On-Air streaming platform. Sanya On-Air streams across YouTube. And if you're watching this episode on YouTube, just pause for the cause for just a moment and hit the notification button. What that means is every time I upload an all-new Sanya On-Air celebrity interview, you'll hear something that sounds like this. Ding! What that means is you will be the first one to know. You will be the first one to watch an all-new celebrity interview, and you'll be ahead of your family, friends, and always ahead of your enemies. So make sure you subscribe to Sanya On-Air, which streams across YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Alexa, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, and Castbox. That's a lot of platforms, right? So make sure you head across every single Sanya On-Air media platform or streaming platform and make sure you subscribe, make sure you listen, make sure you like, make sure you leave a comment, and make sure you share. We all know how the algorithms of social media work. So yes, just take 3 minutes. Take 3 minutes. That's all I'm asking. And do those simple steps for me. Okay? How else can you support? Cash App. Cash App me at $Sanya Hudson. That's SanyaHudson. All it takes to help a starving child is $5.99. Now, whatever you would like to donate, you can send your donations to $Sanya Hudson. That's SANYA. So all the streaming platforms, my Cash App. If you forgot, all you have to do is look in the description section of this episode, and I am going to have all of the information available for you. And then also, because we're still wearing masks, we are still in the midst of this plandemic. I don't call it a pandemic at all. It is a plandemic because you should be planning, or you should have been planning, some amazing things to take your life to the next point of success, okay? So I have some Sanya On-Air Empower merchandise. By purchasing Sanya On-Air merchandise, you feel balanced with your values, identity, and integrity. Sanya On-Air products allow you to make a bold statement while also being an influencer of positive social change. Get your Sanya On-Air Empower merch today. So also for you amazing brands out there looking to increase your visibility, I think that's the goal of every single brand. You want people to know about your brand. Let me give you some help with that. Sanya On-Air has access to some of the most visible, dopest locations of digital billboards available in 41 cities across the United States of America. My most favorite billboard, because I'm a New York City girl, is right in the heart of Times Square on 42nd Street. Even if you don't live in New York, who doesn't want to be featured in the middle of Times Square on 42nd Street? That is like every person's dream, to make it to New York, to go to Times Square. So go to Times Square with a purpose. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your enemies too. We always gotta show our enemies, gotta floss a little bit. Bring your family, bring your friends to New York City, walk down Times Square, look up, right above Madame Tussauds and Ripley's, believe it or not, prime location, and promote and increase your brand's visibility. So I'm just gonna do something real quick. Now, before we do that, let me just tell you about today's guest. Today's guest, I have Rena Frazier. You've seen Rena. Let me just tell you more about who she is so that you can make the connection. Rena Frazier is a real estate broker. She's a lawyer, and she is a reality personality on Netflix's #1 reality show, selling Tampa. And guess what? She'll be joining us in just a few short moments. But I just want to pause for the cause for a few moments for a commercial break. We'll be right back with Sanya On-Air. Meal delivery just got faster and easier thanks to Instacart. I mean, who has time to go grocery shopping and cook? Not me, child. I got other things going on in the evening time. Now, let me tell you how you too can have more time in the evening. All you have to do is click on the unique Sanya On-Air Instacart link and use the special code MEALS10US and get $10 off ready-to-eat meals of $35 or more. And then guess what? Those ready-to-eat meals are delivered directly to your home from your local grocery store. So initially, when I started doing the entertainment review, I would stop random people in the street, and then I started watching the news, and I said, okay, you can't just walk up to people and just ask them to be on camera because crime is high, and I don't want to be a statistic. So I'm going to do the entertainment review myself. So the show that I've been watching and I'm falling in love with from the very first episode, not even the very first episode, when they announced the reboot of Sex and the City, and they called it, and just like that, my heart fluttered. It really did flutter, because who isn't a fan of Sex and the City? So if you haven't been watching, and just like that, what it explores is now those main characters are in their 50s, and we are seeing them navigate through love, marriage, loss, and friendship, all in their 50s. This is a show for me, because if you've been looking at television, it just seems as if, life is just really about people who are in their 20s and early 30s. And, it's just like, if you are a person of a particular age, television doesn't really represent you. So I'm glad that, and just like that, is a representation of life after your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, because people are still doing it. I.e. me. Okay, but I ain't in my 50s yet. Okay, not yet. So let me just unpack some of the characters. So Carrie, they did not carry you over into, and just like that. The writers, in my opinion, they don't like you. How can Sex and the City be all about Carrie exploring love and just trying to lock down, Mr. Big for seasons, years, child, decades, only for her to get onto, and just like that, and Mr. Big dies on the very first episode. Like, the climax just wasn't there at all. How do you have this woman just be so desperate for decades and get love, acquire love, fall deeply in love, get married, and then find her husband dead on the floor? That is just cruel and brutal. And Carrie, the writers do not like you at all. Now, Carrie is also in her 50s and just like that. And for the past episode, she has some very young neighbors, very hip and trendy neighbors. And she's thinking, that used to be me. And she doesn't want to seem like the cranky old lady. But Carrie, you're coming across as the cranky old lady. You don't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. So you're walking around your posh New York City neighborhood looking like, Olga? She is looking a hot mess. So I just need the characters, I need the writers to just give Carrie the glam that we know her for. And also, she needs to step more into her sexuality. If you were watching the original Sex and the City, Carrie was all about sex. She wrote about it. She talked about it. She lived it vicariously, So we are expecting to see that. We don't see her living at all. She doesn't even want to talk about sex. She's a podcast host. Her other co-hosts are encouraging her to come out of her shell. She doesn't want to. This is not the Carrie that we've grown to love. So Carrie, talk to the writers a little bit, because this new Carrie, yeah, we know that, you're in your 50s, but it doesn't mean that life is over. Now let's talk about Charlotte. A good old waspish Charlotte. Okay. So Charlotte is still married. What I like to see about her character is that the kids are now teenagers, and one of her daughters is exploring her sexuality. And Charlotte, waspy Charlotte, doesn't know how to deal with it at all. But what was interesting to me is, once again, a woman of a particular age. So Charlotte was in the bathroom with her husband on her knees about to rap on the mic. And then one of her daughters walks in and she's flustered and just as waspy as ever. And she runs out, and the line or the excuse or the lie, the bold-faced lie, child, that she gives to her daughter is, oh, no. I was just checking your father for cancer. I was just like, my child wouldn't believe that. But that's that waspy life. Okay. So what I liked to see about that is, once again, it shows a 50-something-year-old woman, whether she's waspy or not, engaging in intimacy with her husband. Shows you that women of a certain age, or women of a particular age, they still get it popping. They still are hot in the bedroom. And it was so unconventional. In the bathroom, child. In the bathroom. So waspy Charlotte, yes, I am living for your character. You're still as waspy as ever, still as posh as ever. And I'm here for it. Okay, now let's talk about Miranda. Good old Miranda. Miranda is really going through a midlife crisis right now. But what I love about this character is that there are some women going through a midlife crisis, just saying, looking around and, damn these kids, I wish I would have never had any. Damn that man, I wish I would have never gotten married. This is why I really encourage people, like, wait until your later years to get married. Like, date, live life, and then when, you get, a little bit older and you try to watch a movie at 10:59 and you fall asleep at 11 o'clock. Okay, that's when you should get married. Okay, so like I said, Miranda is going through the ultimate midlife crisis. But what's even amazing, she's so unhappy that, child, she done rubbed pocketbooks. Now, if it was an African American one, back in the day, we used to call it I'm not even gonna say that, because that is just so racially insensitive. I'm not gonna say that. Sometimes I really have to catch myself on this show. So she is rubbing pocketbooks with another woman, and child, after that, Miranda is spiraling. She went home. Her husband was watching the football game. Now, men don't want to be disturbed during the football game, but Miranda said, I need you to put on your other hearing aid because you need to hear what I got to say. So the husband was just like, I forgot the husband's name. I really did. When you post a comment, remind me of the husband's name. So the husband is just like, I'm watching sports. And she's just like, no, I think you want to hear what I have to say. And you won't be able to hear me with just one hearing aid. So I need you to put them both on because I want a divorce. The husband was totally taken aback. You heard the record scratch. He was not prepared. He is so in love with Miranda. He said, it's comfortable. Like, we just come home, we watch television, a routine. Miranda said, child. You got our son, in his bedroom next door, banging his girlfriend out. Our bed is shaking. I want that type of lifestyle. I want to go out. And the husband is just like, no. She's like, I want a divorce. She is so in love with a woman, and hopefully the woman will feel the same way, because I don't think the woman does. So Miranda is going through a midlife crisis. Charlotte is getting comfortable rapping on the mic. And Carrie, hopefully will no longer look like Olga, and we'll get it together. So they bring a new character. I forgot this character's name, but Nicole Ari Parker. So Nicole Ari Parker, she now joined the reboot of Sex and the City. And like I told you, it's called And Just Like That. And I love that finally, child, they didn't put some Black folks on the show. How many decades were we going to wait for a Black friend, a Black neighbor, a Black store owner, a Black Uber, just somebody Black on the show. So Waspy Miranda, her child goes to a private school and she meets Nicole Ari Parker's character, and they develop this immediate friendship, this immediate bond. One episode that was very, very interesting was that Nicole Ari Parker's character was having a dinner, and she invites Waspy Charlotte. girl, they all waspy. She invites Waspy Miranda to the dinner party, and it explores the dynamics of, you know, the waspy characters not having any Black friends at all. I'm so glad that the writers finally acknowledged that those main characters never ever had Black friends. So now Waspy Miranda, she's just scrambling, trying to find a Black friend challenge. She even says, we got a Black neighbor. Let's go downstairs and knock on the Black neighbor's door and ask the Black neighbor if they want to come with us to a party. Wasn't happening. I thought it was very, very comical. I thought it was very, very realistic. And even Nicole Ari Parker's character was trying to say, you know, let me try to find a white friend to invite so that Waspy Miranda and her husband won't feel so out of place and so uncomfortable. So this new reboot of Sex and the City, and Just Like That, is just what it is. And just like that, they are in their 50s and struggling through midlife crises, rapping on the mic, trying to find some Black friends, okay? And bumping pocketbooks. You gotta watch. You gotta watch. And just like that, we'll be right back with my celebrity guest, Rena Frazier, from Netflix's #1 reality show, Selling Tampa. We'll be right back with Sanya On-Air. Stay tuned. Okay, we'll just circle. Just go ahead, Rena.
Okay. I would say it's hard with all of the outside influences now on that, you know, your children have access to. But I am thankful that we have so many role models and examples of, you know, body positivity and hair positivity and different hairstyles that are being portrayed now, and different dolls that represent all the different cultures and hair textures that we have, to help us as parents instill that in our children. But it is a challenge, and I question myself sometimes whether I'm doing enough so that when they get older, they don't struggle with some of the things that I struggled with.
Right. So, you know, technical difficulties. So we're going to repeat some of the same questions. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. So we just need to backtrack. How did you become a cast member on Netflix's #1 reality series, Selling Tampa?
Man, that was quite a journey. It was really unexpected. So Sherelle had just started the brokerage at the end of 2019, and was pretty active on social media. And some other producers actually had started to reach out, interested in this, you know, all female Black women of color brokerage that's starting up in the Tampa Bay area. And so Sherelle reached out to the producers of Selling Sunset, which was doing a very good job. That show was popular, and they were interested in really highlighting our journey as realtors as we made our way. Each one of us interviewed with the producers, and luckily all 8 of us were selected to be on the cast. So, you know, we were real working agents at the time. This just kind of came as a surprise to all of us.
So did you know all of the agents before you were casted on Selling Tampa?
I knew Sherelle before I was an agent. When I was an attorney, she was my neighbor when she was still in the military. So I'd known Sherelle for a while. I met the other agents as they came onto the brokerage. And so, yes, we worked together for a while before the show got picked up.
Nice. So what reservations did you have before you said, okay, I'll do this? Because we know that reality television comes with a lot of nuances, especially when we have an all-female cast. Sometimes it isn't the best television. So what were some of the reservations that you had?
Oh, man. That was actually a really difficult decision for me. I wasn't someone that watched a lot of reality TV in general to start with. And I was very aware of some of the stereotypes for Black women being in reality TV. And I wanted to make sure that we were depicted in a very positive manner. But you know, it has to be entertaining. So there has to be some drama. But so it was a lot of internal dialogue and talking with my husband, and I have kids. And so at the end of the day, what was most important was that we were able to have a positive impact on other women or other people who were interested in being realtors who maybe hadn't seen themselves depicted in this space. And that really outweighed any of the potential negatives that would come from being on a reality show. And honestly, we have no regrets. I have no regrets whatsoever.
I'm glad that you don't, because I don't have any regrets either, because I remember when reality televisions first started spotlighting selling homes, and it was on Bravo's $1 Million Listing. And I said, where are we? Like, we own homes too, you know? So when I started to see these reality shows depicting real estate agents and brokers selling homes and also buying homes, I said, okay, this is the narrative that is very inclusive and is very diversified. So I'm glad that, you know, to see all of you powerful women of color selling Tampa, it is refreshing for a Black woman like me, and also for my Black daughter to see as well. But, you know, one thing that I know about successful people is they have a diversified portfolio. You were already successful as a Black lawyer, the first Black female lawyer at a law firm. Talk about some of the obstacles you faced in corporate America.
Yes, and I did face quite a few obstacles. A lot of spaces that I would walk into, whether it was the courtroom or whether it was meeting with clients or it was meeting with other attorneys at other law firms, I did not often see people who looked like me. Mm-hmm. And part of what was so difficult is that it felt like you're working in a headwind, like the winds are always kind of blowing you backwards as you're trying to make progress forwards. And unlike some of my colleagues that are not people of color, I didn't feel like I would always get the benefit of the doubt. I was a very good attorney, very good at what I did, which is why I was able to make it at a national law firm and why I was able to make partner there. But I still didn't feel like I would get the benefit of the doubt when I walked into the room. So I had to prove myself that I was a good attorney. And that's a challenge because, I mean, as an attorney, what you want to do is make sure you're representing your clients well. And that me, just by being virtue of a Black woman, I was not somehow handicapping them when I walked into the room because I had to do more than someone else to prove myself. And so that was always a concern and a challenge, and something that I worked very hard to overcome.
Got it. So for me, you know, every day I do something to unpack, because people see the success, they see the sex too, but they see the success. They see the success and they think that it's so easy. And they don't know that, you know, I'm going through the wind, just trying to persist. What do you do to unpack all the residue from just trying to be seen and heard as a Black woman in corporate America? What do you do?
First of all, I have to say what you said is so true, because it is like a silent battle, right? It's not always apparent to everybody that, you know what, I'm tired at the end of the day, because it's not just what I've done, but the emotional and all of that stuff that I've had to deal with throughout the day that was subtle and that wasn't overt. But I'm telling you, I started meditating, and that helped a lot. There's like an affirmation album that I was listening to for a while that was very, very good. And I can't think of her name right now, but it was so good. And to be honest, I would read biographies of people who have been through my journey. And of course, I have a very tight circle of girlfriends who have the same experience, and we all get together whenever it's a tough time. I mean, I've called someone from the parking lot before. Listen, girl, I got to talk to somebody because I'm about to ride home instead of going into work. So that became so important to me too, having people I could talk to that shared my journey.
That's so important, because your network is your net worth. I always look at individuals and their closest friends, because I forgot who told me, you are the sum total of your 5 closest friends. You know, so just having people that you can lean on, sometimes you need to cry on. It is so, so important so that you can unpack, you know, the trauma of the day. It's not easy. They see you glowing, they see you smiling, they see you show up in spaces, but they don't know what it took just to stand in that space. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Let's talk about the hair challenge. Your hair was longer. I went through your photos and then I said, wow, she cut it all off. That must have been interesting and a bold challenge in corporate America. Talk about any nuances you faced changing from long hair to short hair.
Oh my goodness, yes. So I used to wear my hair relaxed and long, and I had some color in it. And that was because I felt like that was the most non-offensive hairdo for me. So I that was going to be accepted by everyone and anyone. It was okay. And I would often wear it pulled back in a bun at the back of my neck. So no issues with the hair. In reality, though, it was really high maintenance. It really didn't fit my lifestyle. I'm busy. I'm a mom. And so like having to constantly go in and get it straightened and relaxed and colored and then and pulling it back anyways. It took a lot. And there was actually a conversation I had with a friend of mine who was a man. And he be prepared to go for smoothing my hair back very light in a bun so that it just it looked the same as when it was relaxed. And he had said to me, he mentioned Bozoma St. John, who is an executive who is completely herself. She wears these beautiful natural hairstyles. And he's like, look how she shines and how she stands out just being herself. And it was so motivating for me. And from then on, I was like, you know what? I don't want to hide behind this facade of who I am just to present a certain way to other people. So went natural completely, ended up cutting my hair short, and I've never felt more confident in who I am.
Got it. As you started talking about that experience, just something consumed me. I started to get emotional, and I'll tell you why. It's a damn shame that women, especially women of color, even have to say, I just don't want to offend anyone.
Right.
We have to go through that journey, that self-conversation of not wanting to offend anyone and kind of eliminate our light just because we don't want to offend anyone. That is trauma.
Yes.
So
it is.
So with you having 4 daughters, kudos to you because I just couldn't do it. My daughter's 20. How do you raise 4 healthy daughters to have healthy body image issues? How are you doing that?
Oh, it's a conscious effort, and it's not easy because there's so many other influences out there that tell them, this is the more attractive body shape. This is the more attractive hairdo. This is how your skin should look. This is how your makeup should look. This is how you should dress. And they're all so different with their distinct personalities. And I just love who they are naturally as themselves. And so it is very important to me that I encourage them to be themselves, but it is hard. It is a constant struggle. It is constantly saying, you are beautiful the way you are. And hey, look at this person here who has hair just like yours. Look how beautiful she is and how beautiful her hair is in its natural state, or in braids, or in my youngest one wears twists, like the 2-strand twist. And it is, like I said, it's like a conscious effort to instill that in them, because what I don't want is for them to go through some of the struggles I did in trying to figure out who I am amongst, everyone else.
Yeah. As the mother of a 26-year-old daughter, sometimes I'm looking for some of her examples to let me know if I've given her the right messages and the right resources and tools. And just recently, like my daughter's 26, she came to me and she said, Mom, a guy who's interested in me told me that he's never been interested in a girl of my hue.
Wow.
How did you handle that? And when she told me how she handled that, I said, okay, I had to pat myself on the back and say, Mom, job well done. And I know that those conversations won't end, because even as a woman of a particular age, I'm still going through the conversations of, okay, today I'm tired. I don't want to offend anyone. So, let me dress a certain way. Let me not ask too many questions to, the people who are seated at the table, so those conversations never cease to occur. How did you find your voice? Because on Selling Tampa, your boldness, your ability to be unapologetic at the right times, it resonated across all of the televisions. Where did you find your strength to be unapologetically bold? Oh, wow, she froze. We'll get her back. We'll get her back. We'll get her back. Such a great conversation. Wi-Fi issues.
There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Am I back?
Yes.
Am I back? Okay. I can see and hear you perfectly, but my screen was doing the little turning thing. So you mean just pick up where I was? Okay.
Yes.
So that came from years of really not using my voice, right? Walking into a room and not feeling confident about, expressing my opinions and what I thought. And what I learned over time was that there were consequences associated with me speaking up, and there are consequences associated with me staying quiet. And I would much rather have the consequences of speaking up and giving my opinion and voicing what I think than the consequences of everyone else influence the conversation, confident in expressing myself, especially when I thought something wasn't right or wasn't helpful to other people. So that's where that came from. But it really took a long time of not feeling confident doing it to understand the impact that would have.
Got you. That question was very intentional because I was sitting down with my assistant yesterday and just trying to prepare her for an uncomfortable situation. And she told me, she said, sometimes I just don't know how to utilize my voice. I said, you know what? I'm going to ask tomorrow's guest about this because your answer is going to be for her, because I wanted to give her, she needs to hear from other powerful women of color because we all go through it. And I wanted to reassure her that what you're going through, it isn't an isolated emotion. It isn't an isolated experience. You just have to, hear from other powerful women because we all go through it. So will you. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Now, on the show, we did see you and Sherelle get into, some back and forth. What the cameras didn't show, and I'm glad that you did lead with this, that you and Sherelle are friends. What I want you to talk about is why is it normal for friends to have disagreements sometimes? And it's okay.
Right. Because we're not of one mind. We have very different life experiences. We come from different backgrounds. We've been through different things to get to where we are. And we bring that to the table. And in fact, that's actually what makes a very dynamic and beautiful relationship and business. To be honest, I think if you want diversity of thought and different backgrounds that come in, and so we're not always going to agree on how things are and the way things should be, and but that leads to a healthy dialogue. It leads to bringing up issues that maybe she didn't understand were affecting people in a different way. And if we all sat there quietly, then we would all just be suffering internally by not saying anything.
Right. Right. And I think if you have friends, when you have a conversation and all they do is this, that's an issue for me. I want to be able to tell me, all right, Sanya, let's just look at this through a different lens. Oh, I don't agree respectfully. And that's okay. So even on the friendship side, disagreeing is okay. And even as you alluded to on the business side, that's okay too. To be in a room, seated at the table and to say, I don't agree. Can we approach this differently? So what is the toughest conversation that you had in business and how did you utilize your voice?
Oh my goodness. The toughest conversation I've had in business was when I was up for partner at the law firm. And if you've been in, it's probably the same way in a lot of corporate structures where there are a small group of people that make that decision. And I was in a national law firm. And so I didn't even necessarily know all the people and had met them that were making the decision. So it was important that I had somebody in the room who was advocating for me. And it was very challenging. And so I ended up actually hiring a business coach who gave me a lot of good advice, talked about things like emotional intelligence and different working styles that people have, and really helped me understand and navigate kind of the politics of the corporate world. And when that happened, because initially I wasn't sure if I was going to make partner, because you have to have these really strong relationships. Having worked with her, it really changed how I worked with other people. And that was a really difficult process for me, but an invaluable process for me. And I did make partner, and it just was a really positive experience after that. But that was a very difficult period of time.
I've been interviewing millionaires, billionaires, celebrities for a number of years, and you are the first person that told me that they've utilized a business coach. I've never heard that before. And I think that is such an amazing tool that people should tap into. I've heard of, let me go to a therapist for my emotional side, but I've never heard anyone frame, let me go to see a business coach for the professional side. So you just dropped another gem there. So thank you.
Oh yeah, that was something that I hadn't even been familiar with business coaches, because no one had talked to me about them before. But a good friend of mine was like, "Look, invaluable. Just go and see if it's for you." Went and talked to her, and when I tell you, it was like night and day.
Got it. So one part of the professional or business conversation that we saw you navigate through was when you wanted to negotiate how much you were going to receive with Allure Realty on selling Tampa. So the audiences were left wondering, did you leave Allure Real Estate to start your own real estate brokerage? What's the answer?
So, well, we have to see if we get a season 2.
I already know.
To continue that continue that conversation. It's what I'll say is this, and this is business advice that I give a lot of people that ask me. It's always good to make sure that you are positioning yourself so that you have options, which was why it was important for me to get my broker's license. So I can start my own brokerage because I have the license now to do that.
Right.
Whereas sometimes you can feel stuck in a situation and not have options and feel like you just have to sit there and take something that maybe you're not comfortable with. But so I always advise people to keep their options open and make sure they're positioning themselves that they have options.
So true. I work with a lot of high school students here in New York City, and a student approached me yesterday and said, "Oh, Ms. Hudson, I'm applying for an internship opportunity, and I'm not sure if I should apply for another one." I said, "Why would you want to limit your options? Always have a number of options that you can explore so that you can choose. Like, don't just put yourself into one category where you just say, I only have one choice to make." So I'm glad that once again, a woman of color just really showing how to utilize her voice, how to stand firm in her choices and beliefs, and also to have options that she can navigate through. So I love it. Rena, you've really shown up and shown
thank you.
For all of us girls on Selling Tampa. I just have a few quick fire questions that I want to ask you before we end the conversation. What's the last book you read?
The last what?
The last book that you've read.
So I'm reading a good friend of mine, Christine Platt's The Afro Minimalist Guide to Living with Less.
Oh, okay.
The Afro Minimalist Guide to Living with Less by Christine Platt. Phenomenal book so far. I'm halfway through it, but it's about really cutting through the noise of consumerism, right? And figuring out what's really important to you.
Love it, love it. So what is the one song that you have on repeat right now?
It's from the new Alicia Keys album called Skydive.
Got it. I got to check that out. And what is the first thing that you do every morning?
I open the Calm app and I meditate.
Nice, nice. So do you know if we will get another season of Selling Tampa on Netflix?
We are all waiting with bated breath to see if we're going to get a season 2. We don't know yet. We haven't been given that information yet.
So if you do get greenlit for a second season, do you think that you will be returning?
I hope so. If they have me.
So what is one thing that you want?
Yeah, if we get a season 2, I expect to be on it.
Got it. Got it. So any final words of advice that you would give to a girl of color who wants to be a real estate agent or broker?
Ooh, something that I would say do if possible is to shadow another agent. Spend a day, spend a week shadowing a very active and busy agent so you can see the ins and outs of what the profession is. Because what you see on TV is the glamorous side of being an agent. Client showings, the inspections, the appraisals, the management systems, and all of that. That is really what you're going to be spending a lot of time doing. So I would say do that to make sure that it's something you really, really want to do and you're interested in. After that, when you get your license, then I would say the best thing you can do for yourself are understand the contracts and the documents that you're going to be working with.
Mm.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen agents on the other side that don't color and then really sit down and talk with some lenders about financing options for clients. Though I think if you do those things right up front, you're setting yourself up for success.
So true. I just want to kind of capture understanding contracts and documents. I sign contracts, documents all the time. When I first started, I remember I said, okay, let me reach out to a lawyer. And I remember the person who issued me the contract, they got all upset because now I understood the language. Mm-hmm. And it totally annulled the entire contract, the professional relationship, because what the person put in that contract, they would have had total control over everything. So they hoped that I didn't understand. So that was a great piece of advice. Make sure that you job shadow, make sure that you understand the contracts. Thank you so much, Rena. What's your Instagram and your Twitter?
Yes.
My
Instagram is Rena Frazier, RenaFrazier. My Twitter is It's Rena Frazier. So ITS Rena Frazier.
Rena, thank you so much for being a superstar, a woman of color who is powerful, unapologetic, stands in her truth, raising 4 daughters and married and slaying it, honey. You are slaying it. Thank you so much, Rena.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
No
thank
problem.
you.
Take care and enjoy your Saturday. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
So there you have it. Rena Frazier from Netflix's #1 hit reality show or series, Selling Tampa. I really do admire that show because once again, all we see on television, child, we renting. We renting everything. I love this show, Selling Tampa, because it shows women of color who are real estate agents and brokers. It shows potential homeowners, people of color, wanting to buy these luxurious, these fabulous, these stylish houses, homes, mansions in Tampa. This is what we need to see. For a while, I really thought that diversity and inclusion were buzzwords that Hollywood, real estate, everybody, every genre was just, it was a buzzword. I love to see when people who are creating things are really showing us about diversity and inclusion. Because, child, the banks, just one question I have for the banks. So you mean to tell me that, for the majority of people of color, you're saying that they can't afford a $700 mortgage, but child, go ahead and pay that $2,000 rent. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So having Rena here on Sanya On-Air and just unpacking everything that she said, I thought that it was amazing. You have to watch. You can binge watch Selling Tampa on Netflix. That's what I did. That's just how captivating and engaging the show was. And when I'm telling you, Rena definitely stands in her truth. And something else that I wanted to capture also is, it's okay to have disagreements, to not be on the same page with someone that you're working with or a friend, because not too many people, you don't think the same way, you don't make the same choices, but having those uncomfortable conversations so that you all can stand in your truth, I think that that's super important, because the cameras didn't really show Rena and Sherelle as personal friends. they just kind of looked like maybe associates, but they definitely were business colleagues. And when we saw Rena just trying to renegotiate her percentage off of every home sold, and Sherelle wanted to like take more of the cut, and Rena was just like, no. So when I asked her, did she leave Allure Realty and start her own brokerage? I know the answer to that. I can tell she didn't want me to share that with you. This is the world of Hollywood, celebrity media, so you have to wait for season 2. But I know all the juice. I know if it will be coming back. But first, you have to watch season 1. Get those numbers up. And what's crazy, how I know that the network executives are still trying to figure out if they're going to green light Selling Tampa for season 2. Generate the buzz, build up the numbers, stream. When they see those numbers go up, then they say, oh, people are definitely watching. There's a need. Let's fill this void. Okay, let's greenlight it for another season. So make sure you go to Netflix, you watch Selling Tampa, you tell a friend about it, you tell a family member about it. You know, I'm always tell your enemy too. You gotta let your enemy see you shine and glow, honey. So tell everyone about Netflix's #1 reality series, Selling Tampa. You have to. So that was another great conversation. Really enjoyed unpacking Rena Frazier's pivotal moments and her milestones. Do me a favor, make sure that you subscribe to Sanya On-Air. It is streaming across every major platform. Sanya On-Air streams across YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Alexa, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, and Castbox. I'm going to have the links for every single Sanya On-Air streaming platform in the description section of this episode. Also, make sure that you purchase your Sanya On-Air Empower merchandise. I'm also going to have the link in the description section of this episode. If you also want to increase your brand's visibility with a digital billboard, make sure that you email Sanya at sanyaonair.net. My email is also in the description section of this episode. And for those of you who reach out to me and you secure a billboard, I'm going to throw in a special treat for you. I'm not going to tell you what the treat is. All I will say is pack your bags. Pack your bags. Maybe have a passport handy. That's all I'm going to say. So if you're interested in obtaining a Sanya On-Air digital billboard so that you can increase your brand's visibility, make sure that you email Sanya at sanyaonair.net. Also, make sure that you use the link in the description section of this episode to receive $10 off your Instacart shopping of $35 or more. Make sure you also hit me up, Cash App, $Sanya Hudson. If you don't know how to spell my name, look in the description section of this episode. What else do I have to say? I think that's it. Okay. Thank you so much follow me on Instagram. Okay. Sanya_on-air. Child, I forgot my Twitter. But you can just find me on Twitter at Sanya On-Air or look under Sanya Hudson. Thank you so much for tuning in to another amazing edition of Sanya On-Air. Smooches, dolls. Take care.